Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Mike, and thanks for joining me this morning. I'm continuing a little series this week, and it centers around this question. Do you worry about money? Do you ever have that middle of the night wake-up call? Or do sometimes you walk around with a lot of anxiety? You know that kind of anxiety that rests in the bottom of your stomach? God, I hate that feeling. Well, if you do, if you've ever felt that, if you walk around and in your head you're adding up how much money you owe this month and how much money you think you're going to make, and it's not working out, and you're anxious and worried about what you're going to do about it. And I want to talk to you about that this week and offer you some suggestions on how to deal with it. Yesterday we began this series exploring the Pareto principle. And many of you are familiar with this, right? The Pareto principle states that 80% of sales are done by 20% of the agents. Or said another way, 20% of the agents are making 80% of the money. And it even goes a step further than that. Of that top 20%, 20% of those, that makes the top 4%, are making 96% of the commission dollars in the United States this year. The top 4% are going to make 96% of the money. Why? What's going on with that? And what steps can you take to get yourself into that top 20%? Or maybe if you're already there, how can you get yourself into that top 4%? Well, we're going to talk about that this week. Yesterday I made the point that usually the difference between the 20 and the 80%, it's really small. It's very small. It's tiny. I use the analogy of the Kentucky Derby, which will come up the end of April, around the 1st of May this year, and the winning horse will sometimes win by a nose, by inches. The winning horse will make 10 times more money than the second place horse. But he only won by inches. He wasn't 10 times faster. He's just going to make 10 times more money. Sometimes those inches are all it is. You could be right now inches away from moving into that 20% or inches away from moving into the top 4%. It might just be some small adjustments to what you're doing. And you know my big thing, I have it written on my desk. I have to look at it every day because it's one of my favorite sayings. Tiny hinges swing big doors. Sometimes it's the little things that we do that make all the difference. And I'm living proof of that, folks. I went on in my real estate career to sell more than 10,000 houses. And I wish that it was one big thing, because I would have already told you about it so that you could do it too. But it's not one big thing. If it was, I'd just bring you into my office, whisper it in your ear, you'd go do it, and then you'd sell 10,000 houses too. But it's not one big thing. It's a bunch of little things. Folks, tiny hinges swing big doors. It's the little things we do every day that make all the difference. So I'm going to give you 2 observations for today in hopes that this will help somebody listening to me move themselves into that top 20% or even into that 4%, which is crazy. The top 20%, my first observation, the top 20%, they tend to be very consistent. Now I know, I can hear you. There's a wide collective groan going up out there, right? Because that's the one thing you didn't want me to talk about today, right? Yeah, consistency. Putting yourself in a way of success every day. Get up, get dressed, go to work. Don't try to work from home, folks. So few people can pull it off. And if you think you're that person, you're not. You're not. It's 1% of 1%. Most people can't pull it off. You get isolated, you get distracted, you get depressed, you're not surrounded with the synergy and the environment for success that you need every day. Get up, get dressed, go to work. Yeah, every day, 5 days a week. If you do that, I was told this when I first got into business, and I'm so glad it's so true. It's so true that it's stuck with me the last 32 years. Mike, 2 rules for success. I'm like, well, it has to be more complex than that. No, it's really not. Show up. If you show up, you beat 75% of the industry because they just can't show up every day. Show up, ask for the business. I'm like, really? That's all there is to it? Yep. I didn't believe him. I didn't believe him at all because it sounded too simplistic. It needed to be more complex for it to be valid. Don't I have to spend money? It needs to be a big thought, right? No, they were absolutely right. And that's why I'm saying it to you again this morning. Be consistent. Hey, show up. If you show up in residential real estate, you beat 75% of your competition who will not show up. Show up, ask for the business every day. Or my way of saying it, get up, get dressed, go to work. Every day. Be consistent. That top 20%, what they're good at being consistent every day. See, not a big thought. Not anything there that any of us couldn't do. We just don't. We just don't. My second observation for you this morning on how to move into that top 20% or maybe the top 4%. Spend part of every day marketing yourself. Well, how much of a part? Ideally, I want you spending 51% of every day marketing yourself. But I know when you're getting started, it's too big of an ask. I know it is. It was too big of an ask for me when I got started. And some days maybe even still true. But we don't live in the world of perfect. You don't have to go for perfect. You just want to get started. Spend a part. Folks, if you just spend 30 minutes every day to get started marketing yourself, that is 30 minutes a day that you're not spending now, right? That's 2.5 hours a week. That's 10 hours a month. That's 100 hours a year marketing yourself. I don't care who you are or how good you are at it. If you spend 100 hours doing something this year, something positive is going to happen, wouldn't you say? So get up, get dressed, go to work today. Then spend a good part of today marketing yourself. The compound effect, and they write books on this stuff, right? But I will promise you this. If you just do those 2 things, the compounding effect of it will guarantee that your sales move straight up and that you will gravitate into that top 20%. Now, you want to get into the top 4%, then you just need to accelerate your efforts. You just need to put a little adrenaline behind them every day. That's the difference. Notice we haven't talked about spending any money this morning. Notice we haven't talked about implementing some complex marketing idea. Well, Mike, what do I do if I'm just going to market myself for 30 minutes today? How do I do this? I want you to walk into my office. I want you to email me. I want you to text me. I want you to call me. I want you to Facebook Messenger me. I want you to FaceTime me. I don't care how you do it. You can send a carrier pigeon over here, but ask me, because that answer is different for every individual. I'm not going to be the person that's going to try to give you one answer that applies to everybody this morning, because that would be a false answer. There's not one. But we'll come up with the answer that would work right for you. Why do some people move into the top 20% or even the top 4%? They're consistent. They just get up, get dressed, and go to work every day. They just do. And they park all the excuses on the sidelines. They make their real estate career a priority in their life. Maybe not the highest priority. I'm not the guy that's going to say to put it above your family. I'm not going to do that. But my real estate career is not above my family, but it ranks in my top 3 or 4. Be consistent. Market yourself every day. Now, one other thing I'll offer to you this morning as we finish up. Wednesday morning at 10:30, We're going to dive into this in more detail, and I'm going to give you a very specific 10-step plan that will push you into the top 20 or maybe on into the top 4%. All you have to do is come join me 10:30 Wednesday morning, and I'll see you there. And I want you to go out there and I want you to make it happen for yourself today.